Start.
But hello and welcome to NoCB Podcast, a grand strategy podcast. It is episode 81. It's the 11th of August, 2021, and we apparently have lots of confusion because Leanna is lost in the black hole.
Yep.
So there we go. Welcome. And the Rosebud is here, so I may disappear at some point. I apologize.
It's not a problem.
First up we have Lambert.
Yeah. Hi. So I mean,
next up, hello there. And then we also have Father Loris.
Hello.
This is the level of professionalism you should expect when we don't have a professional conductor with us.
Well, to explain, up until 2 seconds before we started, Lambert was like, "Okay, I'm going to do it," and then Lambert said, "Oh, you should do it."
I was saying no, and then you assumed that I was doing it. I'm like, "Wait, no, I don't want to," and then it's just.
That's fine. We Shanghaied Lambert into it. All right, I guess first on the agenda is a little bit of Victoria 2, right?
No.
Sure? No.
Victoria 3.
Oh yeah, Victoria 3.
Yeah.
God. It's the same with CK2. Like when we were preparing for the show, I was linking stuff saying, "Oh, it's just the new CK2 news too." So,
right, this one is like, if you think of Victoria as like what are the main like pillars of the game, obviously the pops are like one big pillar.
Mm-hmm.
But another one is like the economy, and this is the first time we've really had anything about the economy. Talking about the national markets.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a dev diary on goods, but not how goods interact with each other or get traded or anything like that. And this is the first time we've seen that. So, I mean, the first thing we can see, the first image is the French market. The interesting thing here is they have Britain inside the French market because of an island that we own in Indian area that is inside the French market rather than in the British market. I think it's interesting because it just shows that you can have countries owning land in other people's markets. Like, obviously, Britain has its own market, a large one at that, but still some of its territories are in the French market instead of the British one.
Yeah.
There was a teaser image the day before this dev diary went out as well, showing the market situation in Europe at the game start, and it also shows that Sardinia Piedmont has its own country, of course, in its own market. Apart from one of their states, Nice is in the French market instead.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting.
Could probably bring that back up. Yeah, this is the one.
Adds a layer of depth to the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a bit last week, especially in the context of like Chinese ports and stuff.
Yes.
Well, and it fits historically, considering, Dutch, India, what you see come over from EU4. I don't know.
I would imagine
I was going somewhere with that, and then I lost it.
Like Dutch trading provinces in East Indies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Those.
Yeah.
Yes. For some reason, I was thinking Hong Kong, but I was like, that was only 100 years. That would have been late Victorian era if it's going to be in the game at all. So
Hong Kong
Peter away from that.
Hong Kong Island got seized like within a few years of the game start, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then I guess the official treaty or land lease wasn't signed until later.
Yeah, that was in the Second Opium War, the 100-year lease.
Let's move on before we give away political opinions that may get us censored in China.
I mean, isn't Twitch already banned in China?
Honestly, I don't know. Let's move on. I would imagine as well the French have parts of their country in the British market, specifically thinking of the trading ports they have in India. I would imagine those would be in the British market rather than the French market.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically this dev diary goes on into quite a lot of depth as well about like how the economy works. Basically, kind of an ANCAP's wet dream. Everything is basically based on supply and demand. Right, everything has its base price, but then based on the amount of demand or buy orders for the goods depends on the amount of versus the sell orders depends on how much your local price and your market price ends up being. And it's some things can be a lot more expensive purely because there's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
Which is just exactly how you would expect it to be.
Yeah.
I know I've just mangled the description of what I was trying to say there, but basically supply and demand determines what prices things are, which is quite nice.
Yeah, there's a base price too, though, isn't there? There's a base
Yes.
price, and then there's supply and demand that modifies that, which makes sense, right? I mean, like, even if you have 800 silken cloths, they're still going to be more expensive than one made out of like hemp or whatever. I don't know, cotton. Whatever.
Yeah,
was cheap
there's
in
an
Victorian
example
time.
for glass further down the dev diary.
Yeah.
Showing exactly how they make up the price. There are certain things that are a bit weird as well. For example, the process that is shown, the example of the dyes and cloth into luxury clothes, or just I guess regular clothes in this case. It says in the description above it, you can only manufacture 42 units of clothes instead of 126. And while it said in the dev comments below that you would see the number 126 if you hover over it in a tooltip, I really think that should just be shown on this screen just in general, as well as how many dyes you would need to purchase to make that amount of clothes. Not showing those is it's a bit iffy.
I think that's probably the elements of the game that are going to get the most tweaks. At least post-launch or coming up to launch is the UI information, right?
Yeah.
So I think.
Well, speaking of like UI information, you remember I wasn't here last week due to the guy, but you remember 2 weeks ago we discussed that one image.
Yeah.
Where it was just redundancy upon redundancy.
Yeah. That was a ridiculous image. I think like 3 or 4 different iterations of how to do this better, and they're all improvements.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine this is a thing. Okay, it looks very pretty.
It does.
I've got no fault of maybe the information.
No.
While I think the coins look pretty, I expect there's going to be a mod that changes that to just a percentage number instead, because we were told that these coins are literally just, if it's this percent, then it turns into this picture of coin.
Right.
I hope and expect that mod is going to come out, because I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the coins. They look pretty, but they do nothing for me.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Mods are likely to
change the checksum.
Change the checksum.
Yeah. Well,
hopefully that won't.
I mean, but it's the new close switch engine, which seems to really play well with checksums for a lot of things that you would expect on the old engine to change checksums. UI changes, for example.
It's unfortunate.
So this is a little tangent, but the Rosebud is sitting here using the scroll wheel on my mouse as Loris is scrolling on the screen on stream.
I'm not doing anything.
He thinks it's him.
This is all Rosebud.
So Valagain is saying UIMod might not. It doesn't in Stellaris. Stellaris is using an older version of Clausewitz engine.
Mm-hmm.
Imperator and CK3 have an extra layer on top of that, the Gemini layer, which, among other things, vastly increases the amount that you can do with UI modding, to the point where you can things that you could do in EU4 to change the UI, just you can do way more, and you can't really tell what is, what would change the checksum or not, because you can do things like with the UI annex other countries, or I think Agamade saw that you could jump into another country and delete their buildings, all using keeping Iron Man mode on, just by UI modding. So it's just the latest generation of the Paradox engine, I guess, that makes it just not feasible.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate. With Imperator. I remember that was a big deal when Imperator came out and people discovered that UI mods broke it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we have Johan in chat saying you can mod UI in the old games?
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah. No.
To an extent. I mean, Stellaris, sure, you can. I use the tiny outliner mod every time I play, adding new things to the top bar.
Oh, yeah. I think the tiny outliner is very good. I remember
with EU4 mostly it's resizing UI.
Crusader Kings 2. I can't remember if Agamade showed it to me or what, or maybe what I was doing on stream made him create it. But a mod that made the title lists longer, especially when playing Horse Lords, you had to give away all those titles. Instead of being able to see 6 titles at a time, you could see 30 or something.
Yeah, resize for EU4, the mods I really use all the time is bigger UI or bigger production window. Those are just must-haves.
Yeah. I mean, I think but it is certainly a lot limited, and sometimes the ones that change a lot of the graphical stuff look very janky. Yeah. I don't know if it was I don't know if you ever played Crisis in the Confederation, the sci-fi mod that kind of died after Stellaris came out, CK2. It was all right, but the UI in that was
I vaguely remember seeing it.
Yeah, it was all right.
That was an interesting experiment.
It was, yeah. It's one of those mods that if you knew about Stellaris coming up, it was that's just dead as soon as it's gonna. Yeah.
To bring it back to Vicky though, there's one part of this that's really been kind of controversial, I guess, and that is the entire lack of stockpiles in the game. Instead of stockpiling goods, they just get converted into money. And some people are thinking this is the end of the world. Clearly these people are insane. Some people think this is a better option. I don't agree with them. And then some people just dislike it, but don't think it's the end of the world. Probably the most sane option, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But
I think to work a game. I'm fine with it logically. As far as I'm concerned, it's just being sold into the private ether. You know what I mean? It's if you got steel, just being sold to I don't know, somebody who's making steel rivets, but are not being simulated by the game. It's just miscellaneous.
For the most part, I'm fine with it. For the vast majority of goods in the game, I think not having a stockpile of clothes is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
Initially, when my knee-jerk reaction was I disliked it a lot for military goods, stockpiling guns and ammo ready to give to your mobilized troops, for example, I thought was kind of essential to speed up the mobilization process. But now I still think that, but I'm less concerned about it compared to the lack of stockpiling of things like coal and oil. I think it would be probably in the big game's best interest to have those stockpiles specifically for your navies. To have a coal stockpile in a big port like Singapore, for example, so that you could bring your ships over and refuel them with coal or later on oil, because that happened historically. I don't really know how the Navy's going to work.
I think a better way to do it would be to give you a menu where you could select, sort of like Imperator has, auto trading stuff, but you could select which ones you'll stockpile and which ones just get turned into gold.
I think Vicky too has that exact thing. You can choose. You've got a menu. You can choose the amount of stockpile you'll have, and you can just like increase the slider.
Yeah. Which for me normally includes like just maxing out the stockpile and then like, then I'm fine forever.
I mean, yeah, I max out the stockpile on military goods basically.
Yeah, and construction material too is another one.
Cement and steel, yeah. And then I go bankrupt for a little bit, but then I'm fine.
No, you're right, exactly. That's it.
Yeah. There's. I mean, I guess, like I said, there's a bit of controversy about it, or rather, there's been a few threads of people being angsty about it. Maybe they'll change their mind. I mean, it's not the first time something has come out in a dev diary that hasn't been received well.
I think a lot of these things are like, you have to wait until we know more information about how everything works in general, before we can...
I would say yes and no to that, because... Like I say, we've seen previous examples of things that have not gone over well, and things have changed because of it.
Yeah.
Or rather, not changed, but like, okay, we'll look into maybe changing this in the future. The big example being the political parties.
Oh, well, I think
initially it was said they are not going to be in. People made a fuss about it.
Yeah.
And now it's being looked at. And potentially we'll have political parties on release.
Yeah.
I think now is the right time to air those concerns. It's just not the right time to be up in arms thinking, the world's going to end about it.
Well, I think...
Well, it's still early. We don't even know when Vicky 3 will be released, so there's lots of times for things to be...
Well, no,
exactly.
The thing about it is we don't really know how the military works, right? I mean, like, how the stockpiles of the goods are going to be related to that, and how... national buildings are going to be used. Is it worth stockpiling loads of steel because you're going to make something big or have a big splurge? For example, what I normally do if I'm playing like an unwesternized nation is stockpile loads of goods, and then you westernize them, and bang, you build a million factories, which is sensible, right? But so we don't.
But would that have been sensible real life, or just sensible as a player in the game?
Well,
I mean, in real life it wouldn't have happened because they wouldn't have known that from 1836 that, in 50 years I will westernize. So I'm going to start stockpiling for factories that I don't know how to build yet. Like, that's not really
well
realistic.
Stockpiling weapons and stuff was a big thing in the
Here's an idea from Sarion in chat. Instead of stockpiling things you create, after it's...
Oh, you cut out. I think Rosebud
has murdered your microphone.
Muted it. Yes. I was saying, instead of creating goods and then keeping the excess in a stockpile, you still create goods. They get sold for gold at the extra, and then you can buy them back to create a stockpile.
Yeah. Which is what
where are you buying them back from? Is the question. Do they just get created out of the ether from gold?
It's like a giant pawn shop, but you pawn all
and
yours.
If you have
still.
the gold, then you can just buy infinite, and it doesn't matter about supply, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like it is a simplification.
Yeah.
And I guess those are always going to be taken negatively by certain parts of the community.
Yeah. It might also be a case of just, how fragile the Victoria 2 economy is, and it doesn't really work that well either, but maybe this is a simplification for market stability reasons,
It could be it.
But I don't know. I'm happy to wait until like military stuff comes along, because I think that's mainly where the stockpile issue comes in, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if you need guns to create more troops, and you don't have a...
Rosebud muted you back again.
You don't have a back stockpile of guns, and you need guns to create troops. Then don't push that again, Tommy. He likes it because it's a bright red light.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're to blame. Shame you in front of chat. Oh, okay. Just go on. Keep talking.
Yeah, yeah. Especially like with ammunition, having a big ammunition stockpile is pretty useful.
I mean, all of the backlash against people who prefer having stockpiles has been, oh, but in World War One, all of the countries blew through their stockpiles in months, and it's like you are choosing the biggest war in the game's time frame, and at the time the biggest war the world had ever seen, as your example, when there are plenty of wars that happened during the period that don't fulfill your specific example here.
The American
it's like
Civil War was a thing. Most of it, Confederate agents, for example, stockpiled loads of guns, including commissioned two ironclads from Britain, and then when it became apparent to Britain what was actually the actual use, it went for private use, which was what the initial lie was. But these Confederate agents are actually kicking off a pro-slavery civil war. And the British went, oh, actually, changed their mind about these ironclads. Actually, we don't want any part of this.
It's not the first time we've took commissions for warships and then kept them. I think we did the same with Italy in the First World War.
So another way the British Empire stole stuff.
Yeah.
Look,
I'm fine with stealing from
if you're going to steal from anyone, it's going to be from fucking pro-slavery people, right? I mean,
yeah, true.
They steal the literal life force of millions of people. We stole a couple of ships. Fucking sue us.
I mean, speaking of stealing stuff...
Oh, they did sue us, actually.
CK3 is...
We had to pay them after the war.
Oh, did we not finish?
Oh, CK3? Yeah. No, hold on. We want to go through some of it. We got some.
Distracted
we got some teasers before we switch over to. So we got for next week.
Infrastructure,
which is going to rely a lot more on the natural terrain at the start of the game, I guess, and then railways will have a big impact on it. That's tomorrow's depth area, which we'll talk about next week.
Big interesting thing about this is the terrain modifier there isn't just is on coast of lake or is a forest province. It's specifically the Great Lakes. It is a specific geographic feature unique to one area. So it's going to be interesting. What other kinds of features are we going to see? I'm thinking things like the Nile River, Danube River, Yellow River, Big River, Big River, Big River, all of them big rivers.
Yangtze.
Maybe in Britain we could have shit tons of canals.
The canal infrastructure. And, oh my goodness, speaking of canals, the Grand Canal in China, that would be a big one. Which is still used today, like even though it's thousands of years old at this point.
It's interesting that it's not just a terrain type that is changing it, and it's like a unique feature. So we could maybe end up seeing negative state region infrastructure for the Himalayas, for other things that are really shitty and hard to get around in. Just the entirety of Iceland, for example.
The Arctic in general,
frozen ports.
Frozen
maybe
ports
could be a thing.
Well, I mean, like we looked at that. Remember when the ports teaser came out and there was a little ice icon? So hopefully, you have hot water and frozen ports and stuff. That'd be cool.
I mean, if everything is like a political simulator, like a lot of Russia's aggressive expansion is entirely around we need a warm water port and we'll do anything to fucking get it. Which continues to this day.
Pretty much,
And not pretty much, it's exactly that.
It is, I mean, without getting too political, look at Syria and maybe the reasons why Russia is so interested in Syria. And port leasing and Crimea, too.
But I mean, if that could be a modifier, that would be, a plus infrastructure in summertime or something along those lines, or specifically for winter stuff. Negative infrastructure in like negative 100% infrastructure in during the months of this to this could be a thing.
Yeah.
Which would be kind of awesome, I think.
That would be cool. I suspect it's going to be a static one though, but I'll be happy with both. But
yeah. I mean, I think it kind of has to be, in my opinion, like based on the month.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the ports weren't just shit all year round.
Yeah.
In the summer months, like they were perfectly well working, functional ports, and it was only when the snow and ice came that it changed. So, having something along those lines would be really nice to see.
It could be, it could be really interesting, especially when it comes to like army supply or getting certain trade goods into certain provinces. But I suspect it's a static one because maybe without stockpiles and stuff too, like if say if the north of Russia freezes over, getting stuff to like northern Finland would be impossible and everyone would just starve. And historically, obviously, that didn't happen. People just bunkered down.
Another interesting thing about this is Michigan has no taxation and no expenses. I think I can give two potential reasons for this. One being that it is not an incorporated state in 1836, and the second being this is the start date of 1st of January 1836, and this stuff gets calculated after a weekly tick or something.
Yeah. Or it's just not done yet. It's like
in the game yet.
Yeah.
That possibly too. Yeah.
The other things
everything is subject to change.
How
many stars are on that flag is another thing.
Oh yeah, did you think I hope it's dynamic. That'd be cool.
That'd be so many flags in the game just for the USA.
Yeah, it would be cool though.
I mean, sure, but that's like a special case. You couldn't have that for everyone.
No, it would make a huge part of the fan base very happy, though.
It would, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
map nerds.
Yeah, vexology nerds.
Wait, shit, all of us.
We also had a video. Sada, I don't think she actually made it, but she presents it, so I'm just gonna say she made it entirely all on her own.
Yeah, it was 100% Sana's doing. It was good. So
it's good. Yeah, I mean, this is the second one now. If you haven't watched those monthly updates, and you want to have like a nice general overview with, more interestingly, new information. So these are the stuff we've swiped from the video.
Yes.
Stuff that Loris swiped.
Yeah, it's all me. It wasn't Leanna finding
it wasn't
Reddit.
Or literally in the post on the forum.
Post on the forums, yeah. So we got some more details on some of the institutions. So we've got a little bit more about church and state here. Where you can have a state religion, total separation, and freedom of conscience. 3 options at the moment. Which is interesting. I don't know which country this is for. I imagine this is for America.
Yeah, how many countries had total separation in the 1800s for church and state?
I think, honestly, just America. It was the first one to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, the country was built on it. It didn't really stick to it, but I mean, it was built on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still legally true, but
it's that de facto versus de jure, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, people saying English is the state language of the US. No, it's not. We don't have a state language.
No.
England doesn't have an official language either. No. We never needed one.
Mm-hmm.
Wales has got one. It's got 2. So I don't like that.
Wales has English as an official language, but England doesn't.
I know. I don't know. It's without again being too political. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that we have official languages. I think it should be.
Oh, we have a burn against Lambert, and I get in chat. Sarion saying, I mean, you don't have anything that classes as a language in the UK.
You what, mate?
I mean, that's not a burn against me. That's just wrong.
It'd be cool if we have official
yeah.
dialects, you know?
So apparently
We've got official
Belgium
English,
also
but
had
it's
separate.
Geordie is the official dialect of Britain. Or something.
So apparently Belgium also has separation of church and state.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
It might be them as well.
That makes sense.
In 1836? Okay.
I didn't know that. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, like, because, gosh, it must be a fairly hefty religious divide in Belgium.
All right, in the vast majority of games, America will be the only one by 1840 because, you know, any player worth of salt will be removing the blight that is Belgium at the first earliest opportunity.
Wow.
I'm sure in the process of French, like, political history, there was probably a large amount of swinging around between state religion, freedom of conscience, and total separation.
Yeah.
This time period, but
Belgium
I don't know
was
enough about France
formed in 1830, so
yeah. Belgium's at the start of the game. It's in the cusp. It's in that blank spot between the EU4 and Victoria. It's the Treaty of London, and then the official ratifications like right at the start of the game.
So do we have any more sneak peeks you're pulling out of a hat, or are we going to go find out how you can get a hat?
We have got two more. This is freedom of speech, which is also quite interesting. So we did talk a little bit about freedom of the press last week and speculations about that, but this is, I guess, covers a lot of the stuff that we were talking about before around the rights of censorship and what is protected speech and outlawed everything, you know. So we do have a bit of a spectrum here. It's pretty good. Yeah. Interesting.
I do find it interesting. Okay, so you've got, if you wanted to, you could pass censorship or right of assembly right now. The buttons are clickable. They have enough support in via your approved or your, what's they called? The interest groups that you have promoted. So in this case, it looks like the church, the militarists, and what's the blue one? Can't remember what the blue one is.
That's petty bourgeoisie.
Them. They have enough, liking for censorship and right of assembly to have those passed. But they also are in favor of protected speech. But you can't click that one. So it may be that there is a law that you need to pass, or there's something you need to pass before you can go to protected speech.
Yeah, maybe it is like a gradient, so you can't go straight from outlawed dissent to protected speech. You have to like do the middling ground, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Snowlit, an authoritarian government can decide to implement right of assembly. I mean, who says that they really have the right to assembly and they just don't think they do and are being pulled like puppets behind the screen?
The thing is, for authoritarian governments, it's not a case of, and I'm thinking like absolute monarchs. Absolute monarchs do not have as much power as constitutional monarchs, because in absolute monarchy, to get anything done, you basically need the approval of the nobility class. Otherwise, they will remove you and put in place someone else.
Yeah.
Which is why Louis XIV worked so hard with Versailles.
Exactly. Like the French had an absolute monarchy, and the absolute monarch of France did not have as much power as the constitutional monarch of Britain, because he had to basically, okay, I'll give you this and I'll give you this too, so that you won't like fucking murder me. And eventually it didn't work out, and they got murdered.
Yeah.
Whereas the British system of a constitutional monarchy, you can get more done. The wheels are more greased. So I mean, having like the idea of absolute monarch and you can just do what you want, it's just not the case. You just end up dying.
I mean, like the meta. I mean, like the meta, I guess, is to get away from outlawed dissent, unless I don't know, maybe you're cracking down on something. Maybe you've just had a revolution, and
I'm thinking Carlist Spain.
Yeah. Maybe you're trying
as soon
to
as you got that
control.
in Vicky 2, all of your laws get restricted.
Yeah. Or like say the Soviet Union or something. So there'd be like a crackdown on dissent, maybe. maybe that's advantageous. Maybe, I mean, it doesn't look like it's advantageous, but maybe that's just my own biases slipping out here. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how things go. I mean, especially when it comes to like censorship and stuff, with different nations along, because I guess technically America's got protected speech, but censorship was basically universal in America during this time in the Victorian period. So who knows?
I do wonder if there is going to be a difference between what your law says and what actually happens. Like, yeah, for taking America as the example, like, sure, the separation of church and state is enshrined in the Constitution and it's part of the law and always has been, but at the same time, that's not de facto what happens.
No.
I wonder if that is going to be modelled at all.
Yeah, it could be interesting, depending on like the power of the church, right?
It may be down to interest groups.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you would imagine that complete separation of church and state would mean that you don't have a clergy interest group, but maybe you still can.
I definitely
because that would be
would,
historically
right?
accurate.
Yeah. I would hope you would, because being official separation of church and state and not having a religious interest group doesn't make any sense for like America.
And this interest group is like, we really think you should turn this thing around so that we can openly influence everything instead of just having to do it behind the scenes.
Yeah. I know there will be difference per religion too, so these religions will, so I imagine like a Catholic country will have a different effects than a Shinto country. I hope it's not just Christian, because because Church of England is different from...
Yeah, I would imagine not.
I hope so. Protestants too.
I mean, Vicky 2 modelled the difference between different sects of Christianity, so I would assume that Vicky 3 will be the same.
Fingers crossed. And our last one is the economic system.
Yeah.
Which was quite a heated debate right at the start of this game in Britain between the Corn Laws, Robert Peel, and free trade. It was pretty much dominated British politics for most of this time period. And we have it represented here between mercantilism and free trade, along with other interesting ones like isolationism, which I imagine is what Qing and Japanese will be practicing for like most of the up until the Meiji Restoration, pretty much.
Until we get them hooked on opioids.
until we stop. Open your country, stop having
we could get what if we got the Vikings hooked on opioids?
Oh, that sounds like a raid, does it?
It does. It sounds like it. I can't see chat as because my phone broke, and that's why I normally. Lambert and
so yeah, we're being raided.
Welcome,
just in time for the opium raids.
Exactly. I'd be interested in what traditionalism is. I imagine that's the stuff that is in Africa that you can't play out at the start of the game.
No trade at all, only internally, maybe.
Yeah.
Although that's kind of isolationism. I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out.
We have a command economy too, which I believe isn't. You don't have to have a communist state to do that. You can actually have other like states have a command economy also, right? Which is cool. I quite like that idea because that is what happened. Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. Hope there's a lot of politics and stuff about that. And I think it's time to switch over to CK3.
Well, I mean, do you know what's not political?
Oh, what's that?
Don't even try and say CK3. That's a that's a
no. You know what's not political is creating cool artifacts for your family.
I disagree heavily. I think this is the most political thing I've ever seen in my life.
Also, I've done something has happened to my computer and I can no longer scroll. What did you do, Rosebud?
Scroll too much. You've used your daily allotment of scrolling.
Yeah.
Well, wait. Oh, there we go. Now I can scroll. Okay, but it keeps highlighting stuff on the screen. But hey, inspiration never dies. This tells us how you get to make swords and shields and who knows what else we're going to get to make in CK3 with the new artifact system. The interesting thing is that unlike in CK2, where if you had enough money, you could just say, hey, hire a smith. Let's make something. This time you have to have a landless wandering character come into your court who is inspired.
It sounds awfully Dwarf Fortressy, isn't it?
I like it, though. Yeah.
And what they're inspired to create, it's not like just like, I'm inspired. Okay, make me a shield. It's like, hey, I'm inspired to make a dagger. Do you want a dagger? That's all you're gonna get.
I can imagine people being rather irritated by this. It's like, I want my king to have a super sexy sword. Yes, I can do as the dagger, sorry.
Well, and apparently they're wandering with different skill levels. So the more skilled they are, the more money you have to pay them, and the higher chance that you'll get a good item. Hey, bud. You don't like the idea of getting a cheap item, do you? No. He's like, no, I only want the good stuff.
But it's also not the only way you can get an artifact. Inspirations exist to serve as the most significant means of doing so, since they'll generally grant you artifacts of a higher quality. You can still get artifacts by other means, such as getting them in events as well. Okay, that's fair enough.
I mean, if it's anything like CK2, I'm assuming that if you're raiding, you might be able to steal one.
Yeah.
I hope you get like I hope
steal the Pope's hat.
Yeah.
Yes.
If they remove the ability to, change your hat types so that you could wear the Pope's hat, unless you went and raided the Pope, I'm so down for that.
That'd be good, yeah.
I mean, that's the only time I put my character in the Pope hat in the game is after I've raided and burned down Rome.
Things like the what's it called, Reichskrone shouldn't be just clothing. It should be an artifact. Yeah, these things should be turned into artifacts.
I don't think they mentioned anything too about relics, which could be an interesting thing. Maybe they'll still have relics come back, or
the 17.5 finger bones of St. Peter III.
Exactly.
Well, or the what was it? Oh, they called it something else, but it was essentially the foreskin of Jesus.
Yeah, the prepuce, I think it's called.
Yeah, the prepuce. Yep.
Yeah, that's
I'd say it's just I love these relics that they kept these things. It's like,
you love them.
I mean, like there's
some poor fucker just lost the end of his willy, and then people start pretending it's fucking Jesus's.
Well, no, but like, say if it was true, like during like Jesus' circumcision, before he was known to be Jesus, somebody thought, right, I'm just going to keep this safe somewhere. You never know.
Because that prepuce is totally that specific fella's. Yeah. Jesus. Completely happened.
Oh yeah. I go with the assumption that all relics.
I'm a fucking elephant.
Yeah. I went to
because isn't that done when they're babies for Judaism?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's like a big part.
I mean,
of Judaism.
I doubt it was for the first one, like the first ever one, and be like, hey, you know what'd be a really good idea?
Well, no, it was Abraham, I think, was told to do it, and he did
that guy never existed.
Like it's actually in the Bible, in the Old Testament.
Yeah. It's a symbol of their covenant with God. And
then
there's the story of how it happened, and then how did it actually start?
It's, who knows?
Well, the story of Joseph and his many-colored coat.
Yeah,
and he had like 12 brothers. He had a sister too. And his sister's the one who either got kidnapped or fell in love with the leader of this town. Her brothers objected to it, and they decided they couldn't fight the town. So they told the guy, okay, you can marry her if you become Jews, and you have to be circumcised. Well, every single male in that town agreed. And then when they're laid up the next day, the brothers went in with their men and murdered them all.
Okay. Good.
See, that just completely sounds that makes the story sound way faker. Every single guy was like, "Yeah, no, just take a blade down there."
Well, their king told them to.
Yeah.
King can fuck off.
Like if a queen said it, we would all do it.
Just straight up, no.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's never told from her point of view, so you never know if she was actually kidnapped and raped and forced into this, or if she fell in love with him and then watched her brothers murder the love of her life.
It's the Old Testament, so I mean, like it could go either way, really.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, bad way.
I mean,
normally.
It is just a story, so Whatever the author intended, I guess.
Just a theory, a game theory,
Theology theory.
theology theory. Man,
Hey.
somebody should do that. Somebody should make a theology YouTube channel where they present it in that sort of obnoxious way. That's just a theology theory. You know what I mean?
This is my Bible hot take of the week.
Oh man, I remember seeing like a clip of one of these channels that was like talking about the number 13 in Islam, and then it cuts off right at the end where it's like goes through all the stuff why 13 is significant in Islam, and then it goes to the 13 pillars in Minecraft. It's amazing. It's so tasteless and tactless. It's so bad. It's
perfect. It's actually perfect.
Yeah. It's very game theory.
The best segue of all time.
Yeah.
Religion to Minecraft.
I once went like I should say I'm not religious, but like I went on a pilgrimage because it was free, and B, I got to see loads of churches, and it was an interesting experience, so I did that. But I went to Walsingham, and one of the interesting relics that they used to have in Walsingham was the breast milk from Mary, which in a little vial. So,
the cheese.
But like, could you imagine that? It was like in a vial, but it was like Mary was like, "Okay, I'm just gonna keep this stowed away just in case in the future. We can keep it in Walsingham in the future."
No.
Fucking rancid.
It's monkey, isn't it?
Even there are ways you can get breast milk out without a pump.
Yeah.
There are legitimate ways to do that, and I'm sure they've done that historically.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: you can't. If you were going to save breast milk, you're going to save it because you need to feed your kid when you're not around.
You're not going to keep it for Walsingham Abbey, like.
Yeah, and even then,
later.
they had no refrigeration back then.
Yeah.
Breast milk is not safe to give to a baby after it's been out for an hour or two.
No.
Because it will be bad and will poison the kid.
Yep.
How would you know that? What experience do you have?
What is it now, Rosebud? 15 months of breastfeeding? Yeah.
I just like the idea of Mary keeping like a little vial. Just go, I'll keep that for the relics in the future. You know, you never know when that might come in useful.
Well, here's
That'll
the
make
thing,
Walsingham Abbey a
That's
lot
a
of
money
money.
maker, that is.
Some women get their breast milk turned into jewelry and stuff.
Yeah. It's a bit strange. You know, you get the calcium pearls or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, lots of relics. There's like 800 billion pieces of the True Cross.
Wait, what?
800 like nails that Jesus got nailed up by. He must have been like machine gunned with a nail gun or something. Poor guy. Anyway, relics. I hope silly relics become a thing anyway in CK3. Get morphed into
just normal relics then.
Yeah, pretty much.
We need
all
a plus
fucking
2
silly.
axe.
We're all bullshit.
Guys, if we do not have a plus 2 axe in CK3, we're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway. That's mine. Are we all finished with
and it says the artifacts themselves will be familiar to those of you who have used them in CK2, so it makes me think like we'll have some of them.
Yeah,
I always renamed the plus 2x because, it's fine that it exists, but like it did break my immersion.
Yeah.
So I always renamed it.
It was also the only weapon a child could equip.
Didn't recognize that.
I don't know what.
It also had the color code thing, which I had never figured out how to do. It's like and then numbers or some shit, or percent or something like that.
Yeah.
But you know, if you didn't just spam backspace, you could just have the axe called something in a funky color, which was cool.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk funky, we've got War and Peace Part 3 from Hoi 4 today.
Very funky. Definitely what I would describe as supremely funky.
For some reason.
The Soviets, the pioneers of funk.
This is quite...
That's the economic system.
So we don't have an anarchist path, which was one of the theories, which was what Liana was hoping for on the left anyway.
Yes.
It might be alternative.
I'm sure Liana would be very disappointed.
We don't know if it's an anarchist one, like, further along the line, though, so we never know. We live in hope. Who knows? We do, however, have the left and what was called the right opposition. But, I mean, it's right in the context of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. So, it's basically Stalin labelled the left opposition, the Trotskyists, with Bukharin, the right, and he was the centre. Anyway, so we've got the left opposition, which is Trotsky, which is the classic. Same as basically before. Trotsky comes back. You can basically work in the same sort of way that the Spanish Civil War happens, where you are basically playing the opposition while at the same time the actual leader is still Stalin. So Stalin is purging people still, but you are basically trying to keep your Trotskyists safe. Including, interestingly, organizing what Stalin called wreckers, which could go from people who basically didn't work hard enough, or people who were trade unionists and maybe wanted to have a bit more workers' rights, and they were considered wreckers because they basically didn't follow the absolute state and work themselves to death in coal mines.
We also have no Romanov restoration.
But this is only the left. So we do have the Romanovs. We know to the right of the map. So these are all the communist paths. So you can go down. So we can get Trotsky back. That starts a civil war. That's unavoidable. And once you do, you can give Trotsky some cool bonuses and stuff. You have Bukharin, who basically supported what was called, the new economic model? Somebody in chat could probably correct me there. Which is kind of basically what China is doing now, where it's introducing free market elements to state, in their eyes, try and modernize and boost productivity, I guess. So he supported that. So you can get him in charge. Now, this doesn't. You don't necessarily have to trigger a civil war to do this one, because you can get the NKVD on side and just assassinate Stalin out of the bat. Get Bukharin in charge, and yeah, do it that way. Yeah, do you two have any opinions on it, or?
War and Peace Part 3. Trotsky would look really cool if you could put a hat on him.
Yeah, I guess Trotsky did wear a hat occasionally, didn't he?
Disagree. That is some fucking amazing hair.
Yeah, he did have some great hair, didn't he?
Compare him to Stalin. Like that is some fucking top tier hair, especially the facial part.
Oh.
I mean, it's like, it sounds like, I've just got a mustache. Trotsky paired it with that perfect goatee.
Hey,
nah.
There's nothing wrong
Trotsky's
with
got the
just
hair
having a
game
mustache,
down.
Slumber.
Yeah, don't be cramping that style. Fuck me.
We do also have chat commenting on the fact that, we still need an Italy rework on their focus tree.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's going to be in the works down the line. Another interesting thing about Trotsky is he changed the flag to the Fourth International flag rather than the Soviet Union. That's pretty interesting. Because, of course, he advocated for global revolution, whereas Stalin advocated for socialism within one state. One of the big.
You don't like that flag?
You don't like that flag? I don't mind it.
No.
Fourth International. Yeah.
Is the Russian 4 the same as the Latin 4? I guess it is then.
Yeah, I think so.
Either way, I don't like it.
I think Latin numerals were pretty much global at this point. Yeah, but you can assassinate Stalin. Down the bottom of the path, you get the bonuses. You can add another traits to Trotsky, make his permanent revolution thing. You can take it also try and coalesce the right and the left opposition, but you'll get some malices because there's no party unity. And then, most interesting for me anyway, but again, this is probably my own personal biases. You can strengthen the trade union movement, and you can basically get rid of a de facto leader and having the Supreme Soviet in charge, which gives you a really cool portrait of basically Supreme Soviet It's run by the trade unions rather than by a leader, which would never happen in Russia, given the state of revolution. But let's have some wishful thinking or something. Who knows? It's a cool portrait, though, right? Well,
yeah,
I'm a big fan. Yeah, that's basically it. So you have the right, the left, Bukharin. You can also have other leaders. It's a full list of them here. But ultimately, you will end up with one of the things. It did remind me of the board game they had, which I was playing around with before the stream started.
Your decapitated head board game.
Yeah, my decapitated head board game. So if anyone's played that, it's a fun board game. You get like little cards that have basically all the different. Basically, you start with like Lenin in charge, and then like you have basically you try and get control of a party. It's a fun little multiplayer game. It's cool.
Hey, look at that hair. Oof.
I know, it's good hair, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very good. Oh yeah. Oh, cool.
I mean, that's all I really have to say about is the hair, because I mean I don't know Cards of Iron. It's just not my thing.
Oh man.
Oh yeah. We do have Agmade pointing out in chat. If you look at the focus tree, the big giant one that you can expand up on the right hand side, you've got the pain of, or the storm of, or something. I can't read it. It's the three dudes with the Soviet flag above them, right there.
Yeah.
And if you look over, there's a line that connects to the exclamation mark. That means this or that. And if you keep going, that line just goes off the edge.
Yeah. So that's where at least we know the Romanovs are definitely going to be in it, or at least the monarchist path. If it's going to be Romanovs, I assume it's going to be Romanovs. But we don't know what else apart from the Romanovs we're going to get in the alternate history side. This is just the Marxism-Leninism one, which is going to be essentially all three of these are going to be Bolsheviks, apart from down here at the bottom, which, this is more syndicalism, I guess, where you get with trade unionism, but the Bolsheviks weren't exactly ardent trade unionists.
I think this will probably make people happy who were very unhappy with the Soviet.
Yes. I mean, this is everything you want out of a Soviet's path, really, isn't it? I mean, I don't think there was any clamoring for Bukharin, but I think it's interesting that he's in it. He did get purged eventually, along with all his... but he was pretty much out of power by the start of the game. We have no real support. Whereas
So it's very nice.
Oh?
It's nice. We have Hoi 4 going back and fixing the Soviets retroactively. And then we also have Stellaris going back and fixing things.
Apparently I've turned into Loris.
Yeah. I think my webcam died for a second. I don't know why. There we go, that's better.
Lord Loris.
Loris.
Father Lambert.
Father Lambert. Yeah, Stellaris, I guess, right?
Yep, Stellaris, they gave us Plantoids update, or what they're going to be updating for Plantoids. So if you have the Plantoids pack currently, it was just a cosmetic pack. You got some new portraits, and that was pretty much it.
Kind of the worst ship set.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's a bit of a...
got a...
Oh, go on, sorry.
I kind of like them.
It's a bit of a
maybe I'm biased.
It's a bit of a misnomer too, because this affects both plantoids and fungi. So, it's not just plantoids.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Something is still going on with my mouse, but yeah, we have 2 new civics and 3 new species traits.
Yeah.
So for new traits, we have phototrophic, radiotrophic, and budding. Rosebud apparently likes budding, because I guess it's the rosebud.
Budding seems like a very interesting trait. Budding gives you pop
phototrophic. Yeah. So phototrophic lets you use 50% less food, instead you use energy.
Yeah. Oh, Rosebud muted you again.
Oh, there you go. Radiotrophic is the same, except if you're on Tomb World, there's no energy upkeep.
Yeah.
So if you have Tomb Worlds with these guys, all you're paying is 50% of the food.
Yeah.
That's it, which is pretty awesome in my book.
Yeah.
Feeding on the radiation. I like it.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that
And
one.
Tomb World habitability plus 30%. Nuclear powered plants.
Budding seems interesting. Budding, and then also there's a new civic called Idyllic Bloom.
Yeah, but back to budding now.
Oh, go on, sorry.
Organic pop assembly.
Yeah.
Assembly is what you call when you make a robot. It's growth when you make an organic pop. So is this kind of showing that we're going to be able to use both to grow plants at like double speed or something?
It's like, I don't know if you ever played Hive Minds with a spawning pool. We do pop assemblies.
Oh, is that literally how it works?
Yeah,
Never mind
yeah. It's bad.
Moving on. That's all right. Cool. I haven't played with Hive Mind in a while.
Yeah, I think having a combination of a Hive Mind with budding would be very interesting.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. That sounds cool.
And maybe, I don't know if Idyllic Bloom is compatible with Hive Mind. I hope it is. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? Like have a Hive Mind budding thing that's making... Basically what you do with Idyllic Bloom is you turn the planet into like some sort of natural paradise, I guess, progressively.
Gaia world kind of thing.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I quite like the idea of that, having a species of trees that are like Ents, I guess. You basically have tree beards going around.
Yeah.
Goes with having the machine world or the hive world. We now have another specific world just for these guys.
Yeah.
Oops.
Is there a fungal world one? Because Idyllic Bloom there is for plantoids but not fungoids. Is that what I'm saying?
Oh,
there?
no. That's so it's one of the two. So it's either going to be fungoid or plantoid. Yeah.
Right. Okay, yeah, no, I just completely misread that then. Fair enough. Yeah, no, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, same.
And you got the 4 phases of it as well. Plot growth speed plus 10% for the first phase. Then growth speed goes down, but habitability goes up. Then habitability goes up a lot. And then terraforms it into a Gaia world on completion.
Which also gives you a flat increase in pop growth, I think, world, right?
Yes, yeah. I like it.
Yeah, all good things. I always like more civics and more traits, because basically you can play around with these things, and half the fun in Solaris, like we said like lots of times, for me anyway, and is making the civilization, right? And role playing with it.
Apparently, Radiotrophic has actually been changed since the dev diary was posted.
Oh.
Look through the dev comments. Some changes to Radiotrophic since it was posted, since the 100% habitability when combined with post-apocalyptic origin was a bit much in testing. So now it's 50% of base food upkeep with energy upkeep. So that's the same as the other bit. And then pops living on Tomb Worlds have no energy upkeep. Then pop growth speed on Tomb Worlds plus 10% and Tomb World habitability plus 10% is the last dev comment if you want to scroll all the way down.
See, okay, I see it. Interesting, okay. So it's actually got buffed a little bit.
Yeah. Which I thought it was already buffed over Phototrophic.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
I mean, I suppose it is double the civic cost.
Yeah. And there's no way of making Tomb Worlds, right? As far as I'm aware, apart from like doing the apocalyptic bombard for ages and ages and ages until...
Yeah.
And
you have to be like full war focused in your ethics.
Yeah, and you can't do it to your own planets either. So
yeah,
I wouldn't mind something in the future to make something into a Tomb World.
Agreed. Some kind of early Colossus. I mean, yeah, just one of the Colossus could be turns into Tomb World. Well, it doesn't completely kill your planet, but it will severely fuck it up and make it uninhabitable for the large amount of population.
Well, I want something like, you got the wasteful trait. I want something like ravenously wasteful, where basically you...
your world slowly becomes a Tomb World.
Yeah, exactly. You're basically like humans, where you absolutely destroy Destroy the planet.
Self-indulgent assholes.
So,
Yeah.
hold on. We have Dimsomniacs saying, are we getting organic ships? And then we have Zaho Blade
Yes.
talking about recycled meat ships, which reminds me of a comic Agamade made in the past week.
Oh
about-
yeah. That's pretty good, actually.
You're getting competition, Loris.
Oh, I know. That's all right. But
We got
the more the
Agamade
merrier.
doing
More the
long
merrier,
game
exactly.
short, modding, comics.
Is there anything this guy cannot do? Oh wait, no. I literally already asked him that. I completely forgot. I already asked him that, and he said singing.
Singing.
Yeah.
Well, I've got the voice of an angel, so.
Yeah, is it one of those angels that looks like, like a person with wings, or is it that fucking grindy eye gear thing?
It's like a sort
that's
of,
the
it's
angel.
the grindy,
Yeah,
gear
thought
thing.
so.
Yeah. Technically, demons are fallen angels, so we'll go with that too. Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah, kind of looking forward to more stuff for Solaris. I want more stuff like this. Humanoid stuff would be cool. They're adding, right? Be interesting to see what
Well, they
humanoids
said,
do.
they're going back to all of those species packs and flushing them out, which I'm sure from a business pragmatic point of view, it'll get more people to buy them that weren't going to buy them just because they were cosmetic.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see if they were, if these are going to be free, or if they're going to be.
Oh, these patches! They said these patches are free.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Well, considering also, you don't have to buy the plantoid ones to get these features because it includes in fungoid too. And I assume if there is going to be humanoid ones, they'll probably do the same as they're going to do here, where they're going to add the same things to mammals. So mammalian and humanoids might share something.
Yeah, probably.
Pretty cool.
That's true.
Yeah.
Reptiles and avian may share as well.
Yeah.
Considering basically, I mean, look at a chicken. It's basically a reptile with feathers.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Feathers is what happens to reptiles when you get warm blood.
Yeah. Well, dinosaurs. Have
And on
feathers
that
or something.
thought, I think it's about time for us to wrap up.
Yes. So,
Before we get on a whole tangent about chickens.
Rose, what have you been up to this week?
Yeah, we'll get Rose out of the way
I'm
so we can then
streaming-
start talk about Anbana.
I've been streaming Humankind last night, and I probably won't tonight, but I'll be streaming more Humankind tomorrow, which does not come out till next week, but you can see a lot of the features and stuff that they've updated.
Yeah.
So,
And Embargo drops
go check
by
it out.
next week, so we can talk a lot about it next week.
Yes.
I imagine
Yes.
it's probably.
We currently cannot give reviews about it.
I imagine
That's enough.
next week we'll be talking extensively about Humankind. I would have thought.
Yeah.
I think that would be the plan anyway. What about you, Lambert? Up to?
I have been playing a lot of Anbana. I've been playing as the vampire nation of Corvuria.
Corvuria's good.
And-
Yeah.
I failed on studying necromancy 8 times in a row, which fucking sucks. But then I finally got myself to be a legendary necromancer, and I raised myself an undead army, and now I have about 400,000 zombies, which is like double the size of the next biggest army in the world. And I just decided that aggressive expansion is a number that I'm going to ignore exists. And I've had multiple massive coalition wars against the entirety of the Empire. And my battles are generally like 100,000 zombies versus 600,000 humans, and I still win.
Yeah.
Because morale is king, and it's
Just
the
don't
amount
lose
of
morale.
morale you have as the undead is insane.
Yeah. But you're so slow. That's the other
Yeah,
thing. Like,
you-
oh my goodness.
I mean, if you're dead, there's nothing that can get worse. So, of course, your morale's going to be good.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have free will, I guess, if you've been raised by a necromancer.
True.
But like when I
but-
played a necromancer, like I didn't anticipate how slow I was, and basically people were running rings around me. I was trying to get them with my doom stacks, but I couldn't catch the bastards. So
The best way I've found is to have lots of small armies, lots and lots and lots of small armies, and then reinforce ones where they attack, because your zombies can hold for a long time before you get. I mean, you're basically immune to being stack wiped, unless it's the overrun. You can be out. Like I had one of the battles that I was in was like 18,000 humans versus there was like 1.9k of my own because they'd just lost a battle, and they held out long enough to be able to retreat. It's like they hold. They're absolutely legends. I love me some zombies. It's so fun.
Yeah. No.
How about you? What Anbanar have you been playing?
I've been playing all sorts actually. I've been playing played a bit of the halflings, which were great. I really enjoyed my halflings. Played centaurs, which I sucked as.
I've not tried centaurs yet.
It's rough. It was really rough.
They're huge in my game though.
But like you have a timer, so you basically have to keep conquering, and if you don't conquer and complete missions within a certain time period, that's it. You just fall apart. So you're basically kind of like the Mongols, where you have to just conquer, keep conquering, and when you stop conquering, you're like, oh fuck, I've exploded. Oops. I didn't get very far, so I wasn't very good. But I keep coming back to the goblins because goblins are my favourite.
Yeah, you do like you some goblins.
I really do. I got one event which I think really encapsulates the spirit of the goblins. So once you form the All Clan, you get like 3 factions, which are like the mad engineers who basically just want to do explosives, so you fire rockets. I had one successful rocket launch. I launched a rocket into the sky, and nobody knows where it went. And everyone thought, "Wow, this is amazing." The other rockets have all just blown up and destroyed like a huge section of my empire. But it's fine. Everyone loves it. They love the idea of this rocket blowing up. You have like the old-fashioned clan people who just want to be powerful, and they're just like grumpy. And then you have like basically really ruthless capitalists who fight each other. I had this event which I think encapsulates goblin society, this hell society that exists so well. So kobolds were in my empire, and we had to figure out a role for the kobolds, and the technocrats wanted them just to be like research assistants, because goblin research assistants have a tendency to kill their superiors and claim credit for their inventions. So kobolds don't do that, so that's nice. The old clan wanted to basically turn them into police officers, because goblin police officers just want to be the boss and have no interest in actually law and order. They just want to be beating up people and being the big boss. Whereas kobolds don't. They were quite happy to like maintain law and order. And my personal favourite was the cartels, because kobolds like hoard gold. And the cartels weren't too happy about that, although they appreciate their entrepreneurial spirit. They wanted to introduce a tax that increases your tax burden depending on how long your tail is, which obviously only affects kobolds. And it says here that, does it only affect kobolds? Yes. Does it also encourage entrepreneurial kobolds to just self-mutilate and cut their tails off? Also yes. But the cartels are fine with both of these things.
Wow.
Oh man.
I love it. I also love how it's basically like 2/3 of those are basically just admitting that kobolds are just better than goblins.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. They're pretty much the background of my country. Pretty much would fall apart if it weren't for them.
Love it.
So I've been launching rockets. I developed drugs and sold it to the humans.
There's a lot of mushrooms in those mines.
There is, yeah. So I made lots of hallucinogens, and I've been selling it to the humans. There's also the option to make crack out of like, it's spelled CRAK. It's like fantasy crack.
Anbanar, the drug wars.
It is, yeah. I don't know if it has an effect on the humans, but I like to think I've just caused a huge opioid epidemic in Castanor or something. I've been selling bombs, been coming up with mad inventions. I made a jetpack for rockets, and because it's Ambernar, and because Ambernar is like got this tongue-in-cheek thing about the technology, my jetpack, rather than being like a standard jetpack, it's 3 wands that fire like fireball and ice chill or whatever to cool it down. That's the jetpack. It's a box of wands, but you press a button, it fires the spells one by one, and that's the jetpack.
Oh, I love it. That's amazing.
And then I have
to play the goblins.
Oh, they're
on my list. But at the moment, I want to finish my Corvery campaign, finish off the entire mission tree. And then I'm probably gonna jump into the mines either with some orcs or some goblins.
Oh yeah, both are pretty good.
Rail Skulker maybe.
Yeah, that's what
I did do. I did do like 10 years of a Rail Skulker campaign, but I ended it when I realized that the starting army you have isn't enough to cover off the natives that rise up in the provinces you can colonize.
Yeah.
And I lost all of the progress of 10 years. I'm like, I'll try again later.
Yeah. You have to like build slightly above your force limit and slam them all on there. You can also play Greedy Grin, which is a little bit easier, and if you take Verk and Gulan, that's bad. A fair warning though, when you're the goblins, when I mean like it's a hell society, it is a hell society, and your government is the least stable government in all of Ambernar. Your leaders do get assassinated quite regularly. And if certain factions not happy, they will start a civil war every few years because they're not like, getting all this demands.
Likely because they're encouraging people to cut off tails.
Yeah.
This is entirely fine.
It's fine. It's all right. There's elections like every year, and if you re-elect someone, like everyone will get pissed because they're not getting their turn in power. It's great. It's amazing, though. Yeah. It's so much fun.
I love Ambernar. It's so good.
It is very, very.
It'd still be better if it was on Imperator, but it's good where it is too.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna be playing more this week for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I streamed it earlier today, and probably stream it tomorrow.
The day after.
Yeah, probably. I'm loving it. But yeah, that is.
That's us for the week.
Can't exactly ask Liana what she's been up to, because you're not here.
No.
So I guess
Liana's making a review, which we're all looking forward to. So keep an eye out on her Twitter, because she writes good reviews, and you should read them. So
Yes.
But yeah, we've been the NoCB cast. You can find us on all of the social channels and Spotify and SoundCloud and YouTube and Twitter and Twitch and all of the places. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
Usually, Rosebud's not quite so active because Rosebud's not usually here.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks all for watching and or listening, and we'll see you next week for some more.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.